Ever found yourself typing the same code over and over again, thinking there's gotta be a better way? Well, guess what? There is. Today, we're diving into VS Code Snippets. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jeremy, and this channel is all about helping you to become a better developer with the latest tools and techniques. Alright, let's get started. First, let's take a look at how snippets work. So here I am in VS Code, and I have a JavaScript file open. Let's say I want to do a for loop on this array of numbers. I just start typing for, and I see that I get a few options. The first option is for spell checking. The second option is a snippet. It's a for loop. We also have a for each, a for in, and a for of. I just want to do a for loop, so let's select that. And now we can see that VS Code's already entered the structure for a for loop into the editor. We can see that we have multiple cursors, and we can edit the index variable. I just want to change this to I. Now we can see that we have the array variable selected, and I'm just going to change it to numbers and hit tab. And now we can name the element for each of the numbers. I'm just going to call this number, and then I'll hit tab again, and we can see that the cursor ends on line number 5 inside the for loop. So now I can write whatever code I wanted to do inside the for loop. So what if you type in for and you don't get a list of snippets to choose from? You could just hit Control space, and IntelliSense will open up and give you the list of snippets to choose from. Another way to insert a snippet is to open up the command palette with Command-Shift-P and then type in Insert Snippet. Once we select that, we get a list of snippets that we can insert into our code. You can also assign a keybinding to your snippets, but more on that later. Another thing to note is snippets are language aware. So if I open up this TypeScript file and type in for, we see that we get snippets that are built in for TypeScript. So for example, for away up. Now let's go over how to create our own custom snippets in VS Code. So the first thing we want to do is open up the command palette with Command-Shift-P and then search for Configure Snippets. Here we'll select Configure User Snippets, and now we get an option to choose which language we want to create a snippet for. We also have the option to create a global snippets file. Global snippets are available in any language inside of VS Code, rather than being language specific. So the first snippet I want to create is an HTML snippet. We'll just select HTML, and here we get a basic description of how to create a snippet. I'm just going to remove this comment, and I'm just going to paste in the snippet that I've already got prepared. So let's go over what this is. First, we have the key of the snippet, which is the name of the snippet. Then we have the prefix. This is what you type in the editor so that you can get the snippet. The body is what will be inserted into the editor. And then here we have a basic description of what the snippet does. So I have a basic HTML5 structure. On line 13, we can see that we have a $0. What this does is tell VS Code to insert the cursor here after the snippet has been inserted into the editor. So now we'll just save this file, open up an HTML file, and we're going to type in HTML5. And here we can see the name of our snippet, HTML5 boilerplate. We'll hit enter, and we can see that that snippet was inserted into the editor, and the cursor was inserted in between the body tag. Now let's take a look at some advanced snippet features. So back in VS Code, let's create a new snippet, and this time let's create a Python snippet. And I should have mentioned this before. Here we can see that we have python.json, and the previous example was html.json. This indicates what language we're creating the snippets for. So just like before, I'm just going to remove this comment and paste in a snippet that I've created. Here we can see that the name of the snippet is Python for loop. The prefix is for, and the body to be inserted is right here. But here we have a few additional pieces to cover. So we now have a $, bracket 1, colon, item, and then close bracket. In VS Code snippets, these are tab stops. This means that when you insert the snippet, the cursor's first place will be right here. And then when you tab, the cursor will go to here, and then the final position is always 0. We can also see that we have two number 1s. These are linked tab stops, meaning we'll get multiple cursors, one here and one there, so that we can insert the same variable in each place. After the colon, we have item and iterable. This is just a placeholder in VS Code so that when you insert the code snippet, you get a clue as to what you should enter there. So let's save this file and try it out. We'll open up this Python file, and here we can see that we have an array of numbers, just like in our JavaScript example. And now if I type in for, we can see our Python for loop. We can see that we have two cursors for each item. And then if we hit tab, we can see the iterable is selected. We'll just say it's numbers and then tab again, and our cursor ends on line number 4, which was to be expected because that's where the $0 is. Now let's take a look at snippet variables. Let's create a new snippet, and this time let's create a global snippet. So we're just going to say new global snippet file. And in this case, we have to name the snippet file, since it's not going to follow the naming convention of html.json or python.json. So I'm just going to say my snippets and hit enter. Here we can see that it named it my snippets.code-snippets. So I'm just going to remove the comment and then paste in the snippet that I want to create. So here we can see that the name of the snippet is time-stamped comment. The prefix is T comment, and the body has some unique things that we haven't seen up until now. These are snippet variables. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can find a list of these variables you can use in your snippets. But basically here they are. They're on the VS Code website and there's not a ton of them, but they can come in handy. So here we can see that we have a block comment start, the current month name, the current date, the current year, the current hour, current minute, and the file name. Then we have the cursor end inside the block comment, and then the block comment end. What's nice about this block comment start is VS Code knows what language you're using, so depending on what language you're in, it'll use the correct starting and ending comment syntax. So let's save this file and come back to our Python and let's try it out. So we'll type in T comment and hit enter. And here we can see that I get February 25th, 2024, 1611 in the main.python file. And we can see that the comment syntax is the correct syntax for Python. If I come over to JavaScript and I type in T comment, we can see that I get the correct syntax for the JavaScript file. Now let's take a look at choice options inside VS Code snippets. So let's create a new snippet, but this time I just want to come back to the HTML and add an additional snippet. So I'll add a comma after that object and then paste my new snippet. So this snippet is named image tag. The prefix is img. And the body is an image tag with a source and tab stop 1, an alt attribute and tab stop 2. And then for the third tab stop, we have a different syntax here. We have a pipe and then an option, comma, another option, comma, and so forth until our last option and the final pipe. So let's save this file and go try it out. So here we are in our HTML file, and I'm just going to type in img. The first option is our snippet called image tag. I'm just going to say enter. I'm going to leave the source blank, leave the alt blank, and then on our third tab, we get a drop down with a list of the options. Using choice options in your snippets can save you a ton of time when you're writing code. Now let's take a look at assigning key bindings. So back in VS Code, I'm just going to open up the command palette and search for keyboard shortcuts. We're just going to come down and select open keyboard shortcuts. We want to make sure that we choose the JSON one. And here we can see that we can place our key bindings inside the file to overwrite the defaults. And then there's an array. So inside this array, I'm just going to paste our first keyboard shortcut. And we can see that the key I've chosen is Command K, 1. And then for the command, I have editor.action.insert snippet, and I have a win of editor text focus, meaning if I had something like the Explorer selected, I wouldn't want to try to insert a snippet there. So let's go ahead and save this file, and we'll just come back to our Python. And now if I press Command K, 1, we get a drop down to choose which snippet we wanted to enter. This can be a lot faster than opening up the command palette and choosing insert snippet. Now what if we wanted to tie a specific snippet to a key binding? We can do that as well. So we'll come back to our keybindings.json, and I'm just going to paste in our second object. So here we can see that I've chose Command K, 2, and then the command is the same as before, editor action insert snippet. The win is the same, editor text focus, but now I have an additional key here, args, and inside that object I have name time-stamped comment. This name needs to match the key of the snippet you want to insert. So now if I save this file and I come back to the Python file, I can hit Command K, 2 to insert the time-stamped comment. This can work great if you have a few snippets that you use all the time. Just assign a key binding and insert that snippet. Before I get to the last section of this video, if you feel like I'm providing value, consider hitting the like button down below. And if you're interested in seeing more videos like this, consider subscribing. It would really help the channel out. And now on to the last section, community snippets. Let's say you have some snippets that are specific to the project you're working in. VS Code has a way that you can enable snippets directly in your workspace. You can even check them in with the rest of your code, and when others pull down the code, they'll have those snippets available as well. Let's check that out. So back in VS Code, if I open up the command palette and choose configure user snippets, we can see that there's an option, new snippets file for snippets demo. Now in my case, snippets-demo is the name of the directory that I have open for this project. In your case, snippets-demo will end up being the name of whatever project you're working on. But if I choose that option, we can see that it's now asking me to insert the snippet file name. So I'm just going to say project-snippets and hit enter. Now we can see that VS Code has automatically added a .VS Code directory, and then inside that directory, a project-snippets code snippets file. And just like before, we have the comment, and we can just insert whatever snippets that we want directly for this project. So let's add our timestamped comment snippet. We'll just replace this comment. Now when we check in this file, others will have access to our timestamped comment snippet. Now one thing to note about the snippets file is it's treated as a global snippets file, meaning if you insert Python snippets here, you'll have access to them in JavaScript. But there is a way to fix that. So to showcase that, I'm just going to insert our image tag snippet, and then I'm just going to add a new property called scope. And we're just going to set this to a string, and I'm going to say HTML. And this tells VS Code that we want to scope this snippet specifically to HTML. Now we can't add multiple languages here. So to do that, we'll just do comma and then say JavaScript. And that would make this snippet available in HTML and JavaScript. But in this case, we just want this to be for HTML. Now let's talk about adding snippets from the VS Code marketplace. While VS Code does have built-in snippets, it's still very lacking. So for example, there's no built-in snippets for Python. The marketplace can be great for adding a bunch of snippets specific to whatever language or framework you're using. So for example, if I come over to extensions, I can click on the filter icon, choose category, and snippets. And here we can see a list of extensions that will add snippets to VS Code. Let's take this a step further and type in Python, and then we can choose Python snippets and install. Now if I come and open up my Python file and start typing 4, we can see that I now have a bunch of VS Code snippets built in. These were added from the Python snippets extension. And like I said before, you can also find framework specific snippets. So for example, here's an extension that adds React snippets. All right, that's a wrap on VS Code snippets. If you're looking for more ways to boost your development workflow, check out my other video on the 10 must-have VS Code extensions for faster coding. These extensions are sure to take your coding to the next level. Also, I've recently launched a weekly newsletter that covers the same content that you'll find on this channel, except in bite-sized, easy-to-digest pieces. It's perfect for your busy schedule. You can sign up on my website, and the link is in the description below. Subscribe now to get more developer tips and tricks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.